For the girls.
He didn't say for the whores this time. That means he likes us, guys.
He likes us today. Yay.
All right, ready?
On 3. 1,
One,
2,
two,
3.
Hi. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of
Be Uplifted.
It feels so good to be back with just the girls. I mean, we had to rerun it one more time.
Yeah.
One more time.
We love the boys, but it's a different vibe when it's just the girls. It's true.
Yes.
For sure.
And before we get this episode started, I wanted to say Happy Mother's Day to everyone out there who is a
Happy
mother.
Mother's Day.
And happy early Mother's Day to you guys too.
Yes,
To
you as well.
And to all
You're
the
in the club now.
I am in the
I
club.
know.
Hey, I just had to
Yeah.
pop out a whole ass baby to be part of the
Right.
club.
it's a pretty good club to be in. Stressful but good.
Yeah, very stressful. Very, very,
There was
very.
somebody, one of my friends had a baby, and I said to her, "Welcome to the best hood, motherhood."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super cute. I like that.
Yeah.
So, Lani, give us an update. So, how old is baby? Give us her name. I want you to be able to tell your whole story. So, give us a little update since, the last time you were still pregnant and now baby is here. So,
Yes, baby girl is here. Currently, right now, she is 3 months. And I am loving her. I'm loving every single moment. It was, okay, let's rewind. Birth story, though, my gosh.
oh yeah, let's hear the birth
yeah,
story.
Let's hear this. This is always the best part.
I
Yeah.
love hearing other people's birth stories, so I want to know you guys' too. So she was born on the 29th of January. Her name is Alina Lucy.
So cute.
I love that. So
Yeah. So, quick story. Her name came from my grandmother and my boyfriend's grandmother too. So my grandma's name is Angelina, but I didn't want to name her Angelina. I thought that was kind of weird. So I named her Alina, and then his grandmother's name is Lucy, so I did Lucy.
cute. Does she have a first and middle name, or does she have two first names in Filipino fashion?
To first Filipino fashion, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so what happened was she was born on the 29th, but the 28th, or no, yeah, getting my days mixed up. So on the 29th, or I'm sorry, the 28th, I went in for a checkup. I was already like 39 weeks. And I was like, get this baby out of me. Like,
Yep.
I was done. I was, for the moms that know, like the uncomfortability of sleeping and my hips were hurting. It was just all of that and the whole 9 yards. Went in and I told her I want to do a sweep. You guys know what
Yeah.
the sweep
A
is.
membrane sweep.
Yeah. So she did a sweep, and literally right after I was having like hardcore contractions.
Yeah.
And when it came to the 29th at 4 a.m. and I told my boyfriend, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, we have to go to the hospital. Like, this is hurting like crazy. So went in. They're like, well, you're only 3 centimeters dilated. I was like, well, I ain't fucking going home.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am not going home. They finally admitted me, and then they gave me morphine. They gave me morphine twice. And they're like, okay, well, whenever you're ready to do the epidural, yada yada. And I was like, okay, no, like I had so many fears about the whole epidural, just because I've heard so many stories that like if you get it too late, you're not going to be able to have it. If you get it too early, it'll wear off or whatever. But my midwife told me like, no, that's not the case, because this is your first baby. You can get it anytime and whatever. So finally, when I was at 6 centimeters, I told her, I was like, I can't do this. I couldn't. So I did the epidural, and I finally was able to take a nap. That was like the best feeling ever. And then sometime in between, my water broke when the nurse was trying to flip me over.
Okay.
And then right after, she's like, okay, I'm going to get the nurse to just check to see where you're at. As soon as my water broke, and her head was right there.
Oh,
So
she was ready.
to come out. Something I'm really proud of myself, and I'm going to give myself kudos, is I pushed her out in like 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I even asked the midwife wasn't even ready to like deliver her. It was just the nurses. And she's like, okay, well, if you feel like you need to push, then, push, right? but let's try and like not push so hard.
Yeah.
So she told me instructions on how to push, and I only did it like maybe twice. And she's like, "Okay, stop, because you're like, she's right there, and I'm scared you're gonna tear." So, I was like, okay. And then they finally, like got someone in, they prepped me and whatever. And then, I just remember like when I pushed, she came out with fierce, like with her hand and her head at the same time. And right before the one of the midwives came out, I said, well, can you get a mirror? I want to see her come out. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. And they were like, are you sure? Like, for your first time? So I did watch her come out. And it was just, if I could relive that day, like that portion, I would. Like, it was the most beautiful thing ever. And I loved it from then. And yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I don't think I saw any of my kids
coming out.
Yeah.
Were they all vaginal natural deliveries?
Yeah.
See, and mine's a little different because every one of mine's were C-sections. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
very different experience. Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah. How was your with your kids? How was your birth story?
My first one, I didn't make it to the hospital.
Oh my
That was the one in the car, or where was it?
Ambulance.
Oh yeah, you did tell the story.
So I was a young mom. So I was like 18 when I was about to deliver, and I did have a midwife at UCSD at the birthing center. So we had already like talked about like like best practices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was like that morning. Like I had woke up and I was just like something didn't feel right, but it didn't feel like I was having contractions. I just felt like cramp. Like I just felt like but I didn't feel right either. And his dad was asleep in the house, and I was like, I don't know if I should wake him up or what should I do. And I was like, you know what? I feel like taking a bath. So I literally turned the lights down low and made a bath, like a warm bath, and I just sat there for a little bit, and I was like so relaxed, like just so relaxed. I was like, and then I got up and I was like, something's still not right. So I called my midwife and I was like, I don't know, like I'm like cramping, but it is like it doesn't hurt that bad, but
You're like, I feel funny.
I don't feel right. Like I don't know. She was like, don't worry about it. Like you're a first time mom. Like it's not gonna happen as quick as you think it is. Blah blah blah. And she was like, you're like, I'm like, okay, so whatever. And then I kid you not, like 20 minutes later, I was like, it almost hurt to stand.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I called her back. I was like, something's wrong. Like it hurts to stand right now. She was like, I need you to give me a favor. I was like, okay. She was like, I need you to take your fingers and put it in your vagina and tell me what you feel. And I was like, okay. So I did that, and I was like, there's something hard right there. She was like, call 911. And I was like, okay. So I like wake up my well, he was my husband at the time, but my ex-husband, and I'm like, I think we gotta go, like I think the baby's coming. And so I called 911 and whatever. I kid you not, as soon as they got upstairs, my water just broke right there.
Oh my God.
And I was like, they're like, come on, let's go. They didn't even, matter of fact, they didn't even put me like on a gurney. They made me walk.
Oh man, what?
Stairs.
What?
Now, these were some assholes, and I know exactly, to this day, if I could point them out, I would, because they were some assholes, EMTs, by the way. Anyways, so made me walk down the stairs, right?
Wow.
So I walked down the stairs, and then I got in, and at this time, like, mind you, I'm living with, well, she's my son's godmom, so I'm living with her, right? And we're like some young kids, okay?
Yeah.
My ex-husband at the time didn't have a car. He didn't have anything. So I'm like, this is his first child, all this. And I was like, oh, can he ride in the back with us? No, he has to find a ride.
What?
They made him find a ride.
No way.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
They wouldn't even, luckily,
That's fucked up.
the godmom was like, I'm on my way home. I'll take him, whatever, right? So I'm in the back of the, I kid you not, I'm in the back of the ambulance, and the guy is like, basically, just close your legs. And I was like, I'm having contractions. And he was like, it's okay, just close your legs, blah, blah, blah.
Close your legs?
I promise you.
He
like,
legit
this
said
is what
that.
He said to
Wow.
me. And so then
let's
my
find that
legs,
guy and cancel him.
Literally.
So I have my legs closed. And each time I have a contraction. So for those who don't know what a contraction is or what it feels like, just imagine that you have the runs and your stomach is contracting, like, or it's making the poop come out. That's how these contractions are. Like, it makes you push. So I'm sitting here with my legs closed and I'm having contractions, and it's making me push this baby out.
Yeah.
So I literally had a contraction, and I could feel myself go like this, like tense up. And I was like, oh. And I was like, I think he came out. And he was like,
oh, shit.
because I had like this burning feeling.
Yeah.
And he
You're
like,
crowning?
no, so he lifts up my thing. He's like, you're not even crowning. He said it just like that. You're not even crowning. Like, you're fine. And I was
What
like,
the
okay. So, mind you, my legs are closed, okay? I have another contraction, and it's a big one. I kid you not. I was like, he's out. I felt him slither between my legs.
Oh my god!
And he was like, and we had already pulled up to Grossmont Hospital, so we're in their like little ambulance bay, and he lifts up the thing. He's like, "Oh shit!" like that.
That's
and
what he gets.
Yeah,
You
I
literally-
see the person who was the worst though was the driver. The driver comes around, and I see the driver's face, and he was like, "Man, fuck," and walks away.
What a dick.
Yes. He didn't give a report, nothing. So the guy ends up being really nice. The guy who was in the back ends up being really nice to me towards the end.
Okay.
But the driver was a straight asshole the entire time. But I had my baby in the ambulance with my legs closed.
Wow.
Oh my gosh! So what did they do? Did they like at least? How did they care for you after?
So I was already right in the ambulance bay, so they all ran out and put me on another gurney, and then they delivered the placenta. Like, they didn't cut the cord. They waited till I actually got inside, and then the doctor just took out the placenta. That's
Dang!
it.
So your ex-husband didn't even really get to see.
He didn't get to see his.
Dang.
He didn't get to cut the cord. He didn't get to do any of that with my first one.
That's
No,
insane.
none of that stuff. So yeah, and then it was a hassle. Even though I gave birth like on the property of the hospital, because it wasn't actually inside of the hospital, to get his birth certificate and all that other stuff was crazy. They gave me the runaround.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
so annoying, especially it's like your first experience and it's
Yeah.
attached with all these assholes, you know? Like,
Seriously, it really was. So after that, I made sure, like, for my second and third one, they were like, you're only 2 centimeters. And I'm like, it don't matter. My baby gonna come in like 5 minutes. So you need to get me in the bed right now.
you're like, I know my body. I've been
Yeah.
through this already.
Yeah, seriously.
That is crazy.
I get a lot of questions on the people that like didn't naturally have their water break. They're like, how does it feel, or like how does it sound, right? You know what the fuck I said? I said, I thought I like queefed or something. Like I thought like I thought I like squirted or something, and I was like, what the fuck? And all you heard is a like, and then it. And I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
And then you hear like literally like water. You're just like
Water
Yeah.
gushing. Yeah.
gushing.
You literally pee on yourself.
Oh my gosh. And what did you have a better experience for your other 2 kids?
Yeah, I can. It was, I mean,
She's
all
like,
of them,
well, I mean,
not really. My third one, the doctor had to apologize to me because she tried to give me. She broke my water, but I was already contracting. But she didn't think my labor was moving fast enough for her because she had a C-section to do. So she wanted me to give birth like right now, and I was like, no. So cause she was trying to give me Pitocin. She was trying to give me like all
She was
this
trying
other
to rush
stuff.
you out.
She was trying to rush me, but I told her, you know, basically, I know my body. This baby's coming. Don't worry about it. Blah blah. Blah. And it ended up being that she almost missed delivering my baby because my baby ended up coming so quick
Oh
afterwards. And she was like, I'm sorry, you really did know your baby.
You're like, I'm trying to tell
your
y'all.
body. Yeah. And then with my second one, it wasn't bad. I was at UCSD with her. The only thing was they were trying to do like an emergency C-section with her, and I refused to sign the papers because I didn't want to go through all of that, you know.
Yeah.
But they were trying to convince me that I needed it because of oxygen levels and all that other stuff. But I didn't do it. But the weird thing I would say is with my second one, I had a midwife the entire time. So, and she was the only one who like basically cared for me. So then, the time that I went in to the hospital, she wasn't on. So I had other like random people, caring for me. But I kid you not, the moment that she came into the hospital, my baby was like, oh, I know her. It's time for me to come out. It literally happened. Like, she literally checked me. And then she was like, oh, you're good. And then I was like, no, I'm not. I think I'm ready. And she was like, no, I just checked you. And then they checked me again. She was like, oh, yeah, you're ready. Let's go. It literally happened like that.
So quick.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. And with none of my kids, no epidural. I was too scared to get an epidural.
Oh, I gotta ask you about that later. But
Yeah.
okay, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So they was ready to come out.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
So what about you, Ari? How was your birth experience for the kids?
You know what? I'm feeling really extra fucked up right now because I can't tell if I've forgotten my second one or if I'm conflating my second and third because it's just all like so much, you know? But okay, I remember my first. So my first one with my daughter, they had changed my due date. They were like, okay, she's going to come February 17th. And then I went in for my last appointment and they're like, you're not moving as fast along. So she's probably going to come, I think it was like February 20 something, whatever. February 17th came and I remember, I was super uncomfortable and I was like trying to do all the things to make you go into labor, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like walking, I did the castor oil thing, you know, things like that. And the castor oil is what got something moving, you know? So I started feeling funny and I started to time it and I realized that I was having contractions. And I went to Kaiser. I'll never forget, I went to Kaiser and they're like, oh, you're 3 centimeters. You know, you're not that big. Same thing like you. You know, you're not that far along. And they're like, but we'll go ahead and check you in or whatnot. So I go and I get checked in. And in hindsight and talking to other people after being in the healthcare field, I found out I was pretty much getting rushed out of there, which is why everything started, which is why I ended up with a C-section in the first place, was because she had came to a point where they're like, you know, you've been in labor for such and such hours. We don't want it to stress the baby, so we really think you should take the Pitocin, you know? And at that point, I don't know anything. I'm still pretty young. You know, it's my first baby. And it wasn't even that long. Like, they didn't even give me a long time to try to fully go into labor, you know? So I was like, that's how I figured out that they were, like, rushing me out of there. So they gave me the Pitocin, and then I ended up getting my water broke. Yeah, so they broke my water for me. I got the epidural, and my reason for getting the epidural, I didn't even have a thought because I have metal rods in my back. So I was like, I was so scared of the pain more than the needle. You know, I'm like, what if something goes out of place or something moves? You know, blah blah blah. So I ended up getting the epidural, have the baby, and the part that was really traumatizing for me was I had told them early in my pregnancy that I was very, very allergic to morphine. I knew that because I had my back surgery, like I just mentioned, and I had a very, very bad reaction to it. I broke out in hives. My lungs started to collapse. Like, it was a really, really serious thing, you know? So I had told them, I was like, whatever you guys do not give me morphine, you know, because I heard that's like what they typically give to you when you're going into labor.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I felt like I was like dying because I was laying on the bed. I was still really woozy from the anesthesia. And all I could hear in the background was them freaking the fuck out because they had not put down that I was allergic to morphine. So, like someone came in and they're like, no, she can't have morphine. It was in like in my file or something. They read it and they're like, what are we going to do in replace of that? Like they were like fucking running around. I still remember that. And I was like super out of it. And they're like, you guys need to figure this shit out. Like blah, 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 blah. Long story short, ended up being fine. I came out of it okay. But like, I really, really thought like, damn, I'm about to die right now. Like I was in so much pain. I was so fucking out of it. But it was a good experience. She ended up being healthy, happy, fat. It was just like that scare in between and being rushed in hindsight. It wasn't a good experience.
Right.
Yeah.
I felt they were like rushing me too in a way also because I was like, they're like, okay, we're going to start the Pitocin. And my nurse told me like, okay, we'll give it to you every hour. But then the midwife was like, no, give it to her 30 minutes. And I was like,
that's a shocker coming from a
midwife. Yeah, that's interesting.
Pitocin actually increases the contractions, like the pain and how hard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From my experience, from what I've never had it, but I've seen people who have taken it, and it actually makes their contractions worse.
Oh, yeah.
So then in hindsight, you get the epidural.
Yeah. Right.
Because now your contractions are crazy.
Yeah, like I remember when I finally got to 6 centimeters, I remember the midwife was like, oh, I told her finally, because the Pitocin was hardcore, like my contractions were freaking insane, and I feel like I have a good pain tolerance, but that Pitocin fucked me up.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I remember when I finally got to 6 centimeters and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore, give me the epidural. She was like, you have nothing to prove, just get it. And I was like, what? Like, why are you telling me?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, just give it to me already. I told you.
Yeah, literally.
Give it to me.
How do you guys feel about the controversy of people saying like, people have told me like, don't get the epidural because it's not real labor. Like,
no, that's false. You're not any less of a woman.
Something just came out my vagina. I don't give a fuck if I had medicine to do it or didn't have medicine to do it.
And I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't make you any less of a woman at all.
It doesn't.
Whatever makes you comfortable as a woman to let that little human out of your tiny little vag or whatever C-section, you need to do that to make yourself feel comfortable.
It's not real.
I'm really trying to remember my second baby's delivery right now. Like, why am I having a brain fart? This is terrible.
That's crazy. I don't know.
It's the mommy brain. You've been hanging around me.
No, it's crazy. I'm like, because I almost died with every single one of my kids, which is the crazy thing. Well, not so much my daughter. It was more like, well, I guess the whole mix up with the medicine might have been a big deal. But yeah, both of my kids were delivered. With the second one, the only thing I really remember was a week after my pregnancy. I think that's why I don't remember it, because the week after he was delivered, he got really, really sick, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. He was in Rady's Children's because he had developed some kind of infection that they couldn't detect, and they had told me, like, I had noticed him after like 11 hours, he had not eaten, and he was barely moving. Like, he was like a dead body pretty much. And I was like, something's not right with the baby. So I took him in, and he had some kind of infection, and he ended up being in Rady's hospital for 2 weeks. So that's like my memory of my second baby.
Scary.
You know what tripped me out though was being there at Rady's, because that's like where all the sick kids are, and kids with like cancer, terminally ill, blah blah blah. In the section that I was at, there was so many babies, and I was the only mom that slept next to the baby every night.
What?
Isn't that crazy? And the nurses even would tell me, they're like, and I didn't have like a comfortable bed, those little hospital like chairs or whatever. That's what I was sitting in. And every night I would lay with him because only the mom or the dad was allowed to spend the night, no other family, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sleep with him every single night. And they were like, you can go home. You don't have to stay. Like the nurses.
Why would I go home?
But no other mom stayed overnight. It tripped me out. I was like, they would visit and then they would go home. Isn't that weird?
That is. I mean, that's on them, but I don't know how I would be able to do it.
Yeah, just because I know a lot of women and I know my friends, and they'd be like, no, I'm sleeping with my baby every night too. So it was a trip to me that was my experience. Was like no other. There was like 20 babies at least in the section that he was at, and not one of the parents spent the night. Yeah,
That's crazy.
insane.
yeah, it's crazy.
That
right?
is so insane. Friggin' funny story too. After she came out, she literally shitted on me.
Oh, really?
She shitted on me. Like, so, you know, obviously they do I wanted skin to skin as soon as she came out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they were making sure till she cried. Literally right when they grabbed her from me and, you know, they cut the umbilical cord and all that. And I put this placenta and I had to tear, like, I had small 2 tears because this girl came out with both her hands, whatever. Her hand and her arm and her head, once they grabbed her, she shitted on me. I was like, so this would be my girl.
That's good luck. They say baby poops, it's good luck.
Oh, it is?
That's what they say.
Dang, none of my kids shitted on me.
Yeah, neither did my, well, I mean, all mine were C-section.
Yeah.
My last baby was born early, 34 weeks. So he was in the hospital for about a month in ICU because his lungs were underdeveloped. I almost died with him.
Oh my gosh. You guys have some traumatic like stories. I'm scared for my second one.
No, when I went in, I was supposed to be going in for with my last baby. I remember his, like, I was supposed to be going in for a routine check, you know, like a routine checkup. And I forgot what happened, but they did some tests on me, and the lady's like, I'm going to need you to go into the hospital. I was like, what? They're like, I forgot what they had noticed in whatever test that I did. I was like, okay, I went. And then I ended up going, and they said that the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck, and he was, you know, his heart rate was dropping, and so I had to deliver him right away. But then it was like attached. It was attached to something, so they might need to give me a hysterectomy. It was like, and I was bleeding out super bad, and all this crazy shit. I was like,
gosh.
yeah, but they're all healthy and happy now. So
I'm thankful you're here. I'm thankful you're here and okay, and the babies are okay.
No, Anthony's always like, anytime we think about wanting to have another kid, well, my tubes are tied, but like he goes, no, dude, like I've had to watch you almost die twice. Like I'm scared from my end, you know. I'm like, oh, that's understandable.
You're like, yeah, there's that.
I guess you're right. Dying is kind of not a good thing because the other kids need me or whatever. You know, God, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's scary.
So, what has been the most challenging thing for you, Lani, as a new mom? You know, transparency for all the mommies out there to know they're not alone.
Yeah. Well, I already knew coming into it. Like, I wasn't scared. I've said this. I'm not scared to give birth. I was more scared of like the after. So breastfeeding for sure, because I knew that was going to be a little difficult for me, which it for sure was. I remember I told myself, okay, well, I kind of want to like prevent that. So I had a wireless breast pump, so I started putting that on myself to try and at least get is it colostrum? Yeah. So I did that, and that was I was able to get some, and after finally like I remember I'm like trying to hold back the tears because it was hard, but when I first had her, I had a hard time for her latching. And then when I went to go to my, they like have you go back to the hospital like a week later or whatever. Well, she was underweight, and I felt so bad because I thought I was giving her enough, but I wasn't. And I was getting so frustrated trying to have her latch. I even went to like a lactation consultant and whatever, and I did everything I could, and I was like so pro, like, no, I'm gonna breastfeed my daughter. I'm gonna make sure that like she only gets breastfeed or whatever, and then like I'm not gonna do formula. Like I didn't even buy any formula because I was so adamant about doing breastfeeding. But that was once I finally like wrapped around my head, like, no, like for your sanity, formula is okay as long as she's fed. Yeah. So that was like one of the hardest things for me to accept. I find like I was able to produce, but I didn't produce long enough. So maybe like a month and a half, like I just dried out. Like I couldn't produce anything anymore. So that was one of the hardest things for sure. Cause it came with like that mommy guilt of like,
of course you feel like I can't provide this for my baby, you know? So I get that.
That, and, I to be super transparent too, I didn't think I was gonna get, well, everybody goes through postpartum, right? But postpartum didn't hit me until just recently. So like I questioned myself of making sure, like, am I doing everything right? She hates tummy, like for example, she hates tummy time. And I'm like, well, I know tummy time is like super crucial. They, people push that on you to make sure you do tummy time because, so she can crawl, she can roll over, her head strong, whatever. And then I'm like looking up different things where I can compensate where she's not directly on the floor doing tummy time and stuff. So I have a lot of mommy guilt to make sure like I'm doing everything I can to prepare for her to, be successful. And then the guilt of like, to experience being a stay-at-home mom right now, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to always working and being, a provider, being the breadwinner or whatever, so that for sure has taken a toll on me. But, seeing her wake up and I'm like, good morning, my baby. And then seeing her smile, like that definitely takes it all away in that moment. But, like just trying to figure out her cues of, is she hungry or is it just because she's just, uncomfortable? Is it her diaper? Like that for sure was really hard for me to understand, like what different cries were what.
Yeah.
So, and then of course you don't want to hear your baby cry for a long time, like that. I feel like, at least for me, it broke my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are pretty much, as of right now, that's just kind of like what I've been dealing with.
And those are all very normal things that all new moms go through, just to validate your feelings. And also anybody watching that might be a new mom, you guys are not alone in that. It's not an easy journey, I feel like a lot of people tell you all the fun things about being a new mom, you know, or they'll give their opinions. They'll have, you should do this with your baby. You should do this with your baby. And then it gets a little bit overwhelming, but really it's just whatever you feel is best for you and your baby. I feel,
I definitely feel the breastfeeding part, like how you felt during that time, only because like with my first one, it was in the hospital, like I was having such a hard time like getting my son to latch and to feed. And I would be like, could you just maybe give me a bottle? And the nurse was like, no, you need to be breastfeeding. So they put that pressure on you, literally, to like basically like you're not a mom if you're not doing this.
Right.
So I get what you're saying, where you come from, but after that, like I did try for a while with my son, but then he also had acid reflux, and there was like a whole bunch of stuff that was going on with him that I couldn't give him. And I like you, I wasn't producing then, as much as I should. So, he had to be on a special formula anyways, and then he was constantly throwing up, and then like all this stuff's happening with him. I did end up breastfeeding my second one a little bit longer, but my third one was the one I was able to actually breastfeed the longest. I think it was like 8 months to a year that I was able to breastfeed, but it wasn't until my third one that I was able to actually do that. You know what I mean? Like even with all the tips and the tricks and drink the milk thistle, take fenugreek juice, take these pills, make sure you're pumping, even when she's not eating, make sure you're pumping every 2 hours.
Right.
Like all this stuff I was doing, and it wasn't working. But when my third one came, then I was able to produce then. But you know what I mean? So I definitely feel you and your pain when you're like, I don't know what to do with the guilt.
Yeah, I remember I was so upset because I remember because when I was at the hospital still, and the lactation consultant came in, and it was the way like she examined her mouth, her tongue, and like how she sucked and everything. And I thought like it was just me, like there's something wrong with me. And I remember crying, and she's like, she goes, oh, it's just the way that, how she latches, you have to adjust her and whatever. And I cried, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for telling me this, because I thought there was something wrong with me. And she's like, oh my gosh, whatever. And then I remember my baby daddy was just like, dude, like, you're going through it. Like, I've never, literally. Like, I've never cried so much in my life until I've had her.
That latching thing is difficult. Like, you gotta put your boob a certain way, and then you got to put their mouth a certain way, and you got to go.
Yeah.
And every
Like,
baby's
it's
different
like,
too.
yeah,
Their
in a
mouths are
way.
shaped different and shit.
And then if it's done wrong, you got to pop them off and redo it.
Yep.
Yes, I remember all that crap.
Yeah.
Easy for sure.
It was like,
Yeah, I definitely think that it's a good thing that you're sharing that, because I feel like not just with like nurses, or you see it in social media, you see it with old school parents, they have their ways of like, no, you need to be breastfeeding,
yeah.
like there's so many people that have pushed how good breastfeeding is, which it is, like, that's no lie that breastfeeding is obviously like has a lot of benefits, but I think the narrative now needs to be more so like it's whatever is best for you and baby. It doesn't have to be one way.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. What was some of your difficulties too, Ari, that you dealt with? That you remembered?
I'm trying to think, because they're all big now. You go first, Jasmine. Can you think of anything?
Well, I guess it was mostly just that, like the breastfeeding thing. My son had acid reflux, and then I had another baby who had like eczema. So, I don't know. I think those were I did have postpartum depression.
I was going to ask about that.
With my youngest one. I don't remember having it with the other two. I don't think I did. I didn't have it with the other two, but I definitely had it with my third one, and it actually started before I had my baby, which is crazy. I was depressed before I had her, like a month and a half before I had her, and then I couldn't connect with her once she was born. Like it was the weirdest thing. Like I literally would look at this baby and just be like, "Is this my baby?" Like, and then I'd be like, I would look at her, I was like, is there something wrong with her? Is there something wrong with me? Like, I was like so disconnected from her. Like, it was like I was just going through the motions, like, of being a mom. I was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to feed her, so let me feed her. I know I'm supposed to change her, so let me change her. But there was no real connection with her until like maybe, I think like a month after having her. But before then, I was just like, I don't know if I love this child. Will I ever love this child? Like, these are like things going, like playing in my mind. But now she's like my best friend. She is like the sweetest girl ever. I absolutely love and adore her. All my kids, but so
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've heard that, and like there's times, I'm not gonna lie, where I'm with her, and I think this is gonna be the first time I've ever admitted this, is like I'm just, like you said, I just go through the motions. And there's even my baby daddy, he's just like, dude, like, I don't even know who you are. Like, I'm just, like, I told him, I was like, I felt like somebody died and I just don't know how to react.
Yeah.
Like,
that's actually a really good
That's
way.
because honestly, a part of you does die, you become a new version of yourself. And as sad as that sounds, that's really what that is. And I feel like that's another thing in relation to that that's not talked about. And you can tell me if you shared the same experience. You start to lose your identity almost, because all you're doing is living for this other little being that you created. And everything you do, the decisions that you make, what you think about, what you choose to eat, when you sleep, is all based around this other human now. So you start to kind of like lose yourself, and then you start feeling the guilt for feeling that for your kid.
Right.
You're like, man, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Like, I'm a terrible mom for feeling this way. Like.
yeah.
So did you guys all experience those type of feelings too?
Yes.
Yeah. So moms, it's normal. You love your kids and you're doing a good job. Okay.
I feel that now. That's what I'm thinking about, actually.
Yeah. I remember too, like, the difficulty of like trying to take care of myself, of, putting the tuck pads and the dermoplast and like all that stuff to take care of myself, and then try to take care of her at the same time was the most difficult thing I felt like I could have ever experienced.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been through a lot of shit. So like to experience that, I'm like, how the heck am I doing this? Like, no one told me, like, that really, like, yeah, they told me like, oh, you got to take care of yourself, or you're gonna whatever. But the aftercare of yourself, while trying to take care of your kid, is like,
It's so hard.
it's so hard.
Yeah.
Did you guys, one of my vivid memories was not being able to shower when I wanted to, like for those first few weeks, you know, because you're like, especially if you're by yourself. Like, I don't know if you guys were ever by yourself, but I was unfortunately by myself often with my first child, you know. So I'd be in the bathroom, like, or, you know, at home, and like wanting to be like, man, I really want to take a shower right now. But then I'm like, what if she wakes up, you know?
Yeah.
What if she cries in the middle of me showering, you know? And it was
Then you hop out.
Yeah, that's true. But that was one of those things where I was so scared.
I'm just saying, like, then you gotta hop out,
Yep.
and then you gotta take care, and then you're like, well, I guess my shower is done.
It's over.
And it's
Yep.
like, yeah.
Exactly. It's just crazy because that's when it dawns on you, like, oh shit, I don't get to do what I want when I want no more.
Yeah, I
you know.
know. I remember there was a time, like, I think it was with my son, I believe. I remember going to church and crying, and they're like, why are you crying? I was like, because my baby, mind you, I'm a new mom, okay?
Right.
And I was like, because he won't stop crying, and I don't know why. I was like, I don't get it. Like, why is he still crying? Like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. Come to find out, he was just like I said, he had acid reflux really bad. So he was hurting on the inside. But I feel bad for people who have babies who have colic.
Oh yeah, where they're just crying and crying and crying.
And then nothing really soothes them, you know.
Right.
Because for that short period of time until we found out that's what was going on, and we had to change his diet and all this other stuff, I was like, what am I doing wrong with this child? Because why are you still crying? Like,
You literally feel like you're going crazy too, because it just doesn't stop. I remember having a patient come in one time at Sharp when I was working, and it was a new mom, and she was talking about that. You know, she was just like, because her baby had colic. I was at Peds checking her in, and she was just like, you could just tell that she was distraught. You know, you could see it in her eyes, you could see it in her face, and she's just like, it just doesn't stop. I just don't know what to do. It just doesn't stop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine dealing with that like all day, every day. So shout out to the moms that have to deal with that. You know, you guys are so strong, because I couldn't even imagine, you know?
Heck yeah. I give so much credit. Like now, okay, before having my daughter, I was like stay home moms, like, you know, it's not bad, whatever. But I give them so much more credit now, like, to be sitting here and to like actually do it now. You know, it's so, like I said, I didn't understand how much mentally,
I was gonna say it's mentally taxing.
yeah, for sure. When you were talking about showering, like, shout out to my baby daddy, because thankfully, like, when I tell him, like, can I please, like, I have to ask him, can I go
That's the
shower?
thing, yeah.
And that sucks, you know, to have to ask him, like, oh, can I go eat now, or can I go shower now, just so I can have like that few, like, just time to myself,
right?
You know. And and it's kind of funny too, because now I feel like when I'm taking a shower and I know he's watching her, I'm like, I take the extra like 10 minutes in there, because I'm like, this is my only time I can have peace. And I remember too, we were like cleaning the house, we were deep cleaning the bathroom, and he's like, do you want me to help you? I'm like, no. He's like, are you sure? I feel bad that you, I'm like, no, because this is the only time I can like just be by myself
in the zone by yourself
and like do something. So,
you know, it's so funny, my kids right now, my sons go, so I stay up really late. I've mentioned that on here. I have pretty bad insomnia, right? So I like to shower when the kids are all asleep, because I get to have like my long shower that's uninterrupted, because during the day, like, that's like one of the things I say to my kids, because they'll knock on the door, they'll happen to have 20 questions right when I sit on the toilet, right? And I'm like, can I fucking pee in peace, you know? And, you know, they laugh about it. So it was funny, because my sons asked me, this was like maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago, they go, Mommy, do you shower? They asked me, right? And I go, they're like, you never smell bad, but we never see you shower. And I had to explain to them, I'm like, baby, I take showers when y'all are asleep. I put my music on. Like, that is my me time, is when I shower. I don't do showers when you guys are all up now, because I have now appreciated the art of like a beautiful, hot, lone shower, you know? Like,
for sure. Even with like my kids being as grown as they are, I still get Mom, and I'm like I literally just shut the door to use the bathroom. Like, literally, what, you didn't think to ask me this question while I was literally
In your face.
You're gonna wait till I get to the bathroom to ask me, like, what do you want? You don't know how many times I'm in the shower and they're like, Mom, can I something? And I was like, what? I'm having full on conversations in the shower.
Yep.
Because
That's why I started to shower
they could not
super
wait
late
till
at night.
I get out. It's like, bro, come on now.
You know, I did read this this quote somewhere that was basically saying, like, and I was like, damn, that's fucked up because it's true, but honestly, this is the world that we live in. It was basically like, you know, taking a hot shower is not self-care. Going to the bathroom by yourself is not self-care. These are the minimal things you deserve as a wife, a woman, a mom. Self-care is getting your nails done and blah, 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 blah. They're like, you should not be settling for a shower as self-care because that's like the minimum. And I was like, that's so true. You know, like we shouldn't go, oh my God, I get to take a shower. But at the end of the day, that's what it is sometimes, you know, and you have to appreciate those small wins sometimes as a mom, you know.
Literally. Did you girls experience people telling you, like, after you have the baby, like, how you should care for the baby and, like, better ways, like, oh, do this or no, do that, or you're doing it wrong? Like,
what is the deal?
Did you ladies experience that? And if you could tell us a story about it.
I definitely had a lot of like cultural input, you know, like in in the Philippines, I guess you're not really supposed to let the baby out of the house for the first month, you know, like unless it's like back and forth to the doctor. You don't go take it to a walk on the park or like, you know, nothing like that. So I had a lot of that, like
all the stuff we were doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when we would walk through the park with our babies?
Yeah, exactly. So I was a fucking sinner for that, okay?
Yeah.
In my culture. So there was a lot of input on that, or like you know, whether or not you should get your kid circumcised as a boy, or whether or not my kid should get their ear pierced as a baby. So there was definitely a lot of input, but I tried my best to do what I wanted to do. You know, I'm sure there are certain people that influence certain decisions, but for the most part, I tried to kind of stick with the advice that was given to me, which was what we give to you, which is, you know, like do what's best for you and the baby.
Yeah.
I got a lot of, your baby's too old to be doing this now. Your baby's too old to be doing that. Stop giving them pacifier. You shouldn't be giving them pacifier. You shouldn't be feeding this, blah, 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 blah. I got a lot of that stuff. And at first I did, like with my first baby, like I was young and I didn't know. So I did listen a lot. But as I like got older and like started reading more books and statistics and things like that, I started, it was like, hey, I could do this with my child. I could do that. And it's okay if they have a pacifier. It's okay if they have this. It's okay if they have that. Like, again, do what's best for you and the baby. So
do you have that right now? Are you experiencing that? A lot of input and opinions?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Like, I've had the same thing with you, because I give my baby a pacifier for sure. It helps soothe her to go to sleep.
I was so dumb for not giving my first two kids a pacifier, but my third one, I gave it to her and I was like, what was I thinking? Like that.
My first two kids would not take one. They were like, nope. But my last one, like the baby wanted the pacifier.
Loved it.
Yeah, my daughter loves hers. I've also got a lot of like, there's been times where, you know, our family members were like, oh, we'll watch, not a lot. Let me reword that. There's been times where some of our family was like, oh, we'll watch her. Go ahead and like go do a date night or whatever. But then like when I'll come back and they're like, oh, she didn't cry like this when you were gone.
Oh no.
And I was like,
I cannot stand that.
That's one thing I got I get totally upset about. And then I also get upset about how I should raise my daughter. And I'm like, dude, she's only 3 fucking months.
Right. Like,
get the fuck off
relax.
my
Let me
back.
enjoy being a mom, you know?
Literally.
That she didn't cry. Like, I cannot stand that. Oh, they didn't act like that when they was with me, though. But I don't,
Well, duh,
listen.
my kids behave because we teach them to behave.
Right.
Like,
Be happy they didn't act like that, because then
Right.
you'll be saying something else.
exactly.
So both of you ladies, are working. You own your own business.
Yes.
And you're back at work as well. You obviously had to go back at work. How old was the baby, and then how did you feel, and did you go through any of those like postpartum depressions of leaving the baby at home?
Okay, so this is for me with my first daughter. I was very fortunate because I happened to get laid off at work like right before I was about to have a baby. So I was covered with like unemployment for like 2 years. So I got to spend,
nice.
and so I was really, really lucky. And then I did massage on the side. So it was like I had my own schedule. I got to spend a lot of QT with her, et cetera, et cetera. So I was really fortunate with her. With my second son is where I had a lot of guilt, a lot. So I was with this company that was not very supportive of, like pregnancy and mothers. You could tell their stance was like, okay, what's the minimum that we have to give you legally? It wasn't like, oh, I understand because you're a mom, et cetera, et cetera. They gave me shit. Like, they did not let me go easy with my maternity leave. So I was gone for whatever the minimum amount that you're allowed, or maximum you're allowed to get, 6 weeks or something like that. I'm not sure. And then he went straight into daycare because I was full-time working mom and a full-time, and his dad was working full-time. Anthony was working full-time. So till this day, I feel guilt that I didn't get to spend QT with him the way that I did with my daughter, my first kid, because my last kid was when my son, my youngest, with him, I've gotten to spend every day with him until he was 5 because I worked my mom's business, so there was all this QT one-on-one with my last kid and all this QT one-on-one with my first. And I just feel like I missed out so much on my second kid. Like, and I know it wasn't my fault, but I feel like he missed out on that bonding time with me that the other kids got to have, So I feel that guilt even like now. And I know it's not my fault. And like everyone always tells me like, no, he doesn't feel any less loved. You do such a good job, et cetera, et cetera. But if I'm being honest, I still feel that guilt of like having to go back to work.
Yeah. No, I get that. With me, I didn't work with when I had my first child. I wasn't working. I was going to school, and my ex-husband was working, and then I had like little jobs here and there, but I worked like part-time or whatever. With my second one, I don't even remember if I was working. When you met me,
No.
I already had her? I don't remember, actually.
Your second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't remember.
I don't remember.
What year was that?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't think I was working with her either, to be honest. I don't know. It's a blur. But anyways, I know with my third one, I was definitely working. I was working at Sharp, actually, with my third one. And I actually took a year off with her. I was able to take a year off because, I had some issues that I kept complaining to my primary care doctor about, and I just need you to please keep me off of work, and she did.
Yeah, that's when we were all off and doing our little mommy walks and stuff like that.
So I think I got to spend. I think I was working with my second one, but her dad and I worked opposite schedules, so that she didn't really have to be in daycare. Like, she was off and on in daycare. Like, we'll put her in just so like they had like structure, like in preschools and stuff like that. But really, a lot of the time she was with family a lot of the time.
That's good.
So,
are you back at work, Lani?
No, not my 9 to 5, but I do still obviously have
The business.
the business. I do feel guilty because, you know, that business, the business that I have, like, I'm gone pretty much all day. And I worry, you know, I have to, thankfully it's like on weekends. So, you know, her dad's at home with her, but I still feel guilty. Like, I text him, like, can you send me pictures? Or,
Yeah.
can you, like, did you make a bottle? How is she doing? Like, I'm doing that constant check-in. Yeah. And the reason why I asked is because I am going to be going back to work, in about a month. So I'm really nervous about how that's going to be a transition for me.
That's what I was gonna say. It's gonna be hard for you.
Your employer about dropping your hours, or
Yeah, I'm sure they would. But because financially with where we're at, I just would hate to put that much pressure on her dad.
yeah,
Makes sense.
And because, like I said, it's not something like I'm used to, where I've never like not been able to earn my own money. So
Right.
that's something like I'm dealing with inside as well. But I know, because he's asked me, her dad's asked me, do you miss work? And I go, to be honest, no. Like, I don't miss work because of the fact that, like, she's already a lot daily, you know, and the only thing I miss is having like social interaction with adults. But
That part.
besides that,
Yeah,
like,
I remember having that feeling.
but besides that, I don't miss it. And I told him, you know, let's see how it goes when I go back. But if we can, and if there's some way somehow that I could stay home, I would want to at least stay home with her for her first year.
It's ridiculous because we're really the only country that doesn't give the ample amount of time to bond with the baby, you know? Like, we get weeks in other, I mean, that's a whole another big issue, but like, you know, there's countries that will literally give you the whole year, you know?
Literally, like, I think it was Canada or something like that. They give a whole year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
No, I found ways as much as possible to max out what I can right now.
It's good.
But even still, like,
It's not enough.
It's not enough. And for me to hear her laugh for the first time, like, I made her laugh for the first time, I'm like, this is the reason why I want to stay home.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to miss out on anything.
So let's speak to that, because we've talked about a lot of the hardships about being a mom. We're probably scaring some people right now. Tell us about some of your favorite things about being a new mom.
My favorite thing is just waking up to her, honestly, and going to sleep next to her. Like, even though I'm super, super tired, I love seeing her face, smelling her stinky stinks. You know, it's the best. She loves bath time, so I love, you know, giving her a bath. She smiles a lot with me. And I love just seeing her bond with her dad. That's one of my favorite things. I'm grateful that he's very, like, active with her. And I don't know. I really feel like as she grows up, she'll definitely be my best friend. So it's I love
crazy,
her.
right?
Yeah.
You
I
feel
love her.
you guys have all felt that, right? It's crazy because I feel like it's a mom thing where you really do feel that. You like feel this intense, like, this is my person. Like, I love this little shit, you know, like so much. It's crazy. That's so crazy. So as moms of girls, like, we all have girls, right? Do you ever look at your kid and get tripped out? Like, that is literally like a mini version of me. That's crazy.
Yeah, my middle child.
The way you say it.
He gives me all the issues.
The grief.
And I just have to sit back and be like, dang, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe me.
I can see little parts of her being sassy like me. So I'm like, shit. But
100%.
heck yeah. I mean, I still have controversy where I'm like, no, you look like your dad. No, you look like me. No, I don't know. But I definitely see some parts of her in me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm glad my kids don't look like my ex.
I know they all really look like you. Your genes
They
is
look
strong.
like, they all literally look like my side of the family.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
completely.
yeah.
Well, that's a good thing
That
because
is.
you all look good, so that's okay.
Yeah, like, I was like, ooh, thank you.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing, Lori?
I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's just like watching them grow into their little personalities. Like even, and I know you're probably already seeing this in your baby. Like even like sitting watching like my son when he was a baby play with blocks, right? Just to see how he would put them together and like what combinations he would do, or like Jaslyn, she would color and like why she would put certain combinations together and things like that. It's just so interesting to watch them as little humans develop their own little personalities and like do things that make you proud. You know, like the first time your little girl will say, "I love you, mama," or like, "Thank you." You're like, "Oh, that's my kid." You know, it warms my heart. I don't know how to put that into words. It's like this intangible feeling of just like watching this creation that you have that came out of you come to life, basically, you know?
Literally, yeah.
How about you, Jasmine? What's your favorite thing about motherhood?
Well, when they were little, I guess, it's almost like you have something new. Like, you know, if you buy a new car, you buy something and it's like, ooh, I can't wait to go sit in it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can't wait. You know what I mean? It's always like, ooh, I can't wait till they wake up and I can hold them. Ooh, I can't wait to this. I can't wait to that. It was that feeling that
Yes,
I don't know how to explain
no, that's a good way to put it.
but yeah.
Like all the first time stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that all the
Loved it.
time too.
There's something about having children that no matter how stressful they get, they're also that thing that makes things better.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird, right? Like I always tell people, like when they're like, "What is it like to be a mom?" I'm like, it's the biggest blessing and biggest challenge all at the same time.
Yeah.
I get that question a lot too. And whenever somebody asks me that, I'm like, I'm tired as fuck, but I love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can see why everything I went through, and it made me strong for her.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
If you could, just to end it on like a really good high note, and to the people who listen, what, I don't even know how I should word this. I can't even. It blew off my mind. I can't even. It flew away.
I'm telling you that mommy brain is no
Yeah,
joke.
It is,
And that shit doesn't. Sorry, babe, to break it to you, but it never
doesn't
fully returns.
No, it does.
Oh, I
Yeah.
accepted that.
She's like, I accepted
I've
that.
accepted that hardcore.
I've done that so many times. Just recently, I'm like, wait, what? What just happened?
And I really thought it was
really
going to
good.
at some point. You know,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's
no.
fine. The mommy brain's gonna go away. And then you realize, like, oh no, it
No,
really doesn't.
It's here to stay.
Yep.
It's here to
Your
stay.
hormones are all fucked up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah.
It's here to stay. Yeah.
So okay, if you could give a new mom, just gave birth, some advice, what would you tell her?
Don't forget about yourself.
That's so good. That's a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
You need to take care of yourself so you could take care of the baby.
It's very true. You can't pour from an empty cup, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I need to still learn that lesson.
Same.
Mine would be to give yourself time in the beginning, because everyone is going to want to visit you right away. You know, like your mama, your grandma, your uncles, your cousins, your friends. And obviously you're going to want some key people there. You know, like you might want your mom's support. You might want your spouse's support, et cetera, your best friend. But it's okay not to want people to come right away. You know, if people are like, oh, I want to come see you and the baby. If you need that time to bond, which I really believe in that, you know, having those first like couple weeks, just you and baby and daddy, you know, to bond, then to me, those are like really key times, because especially with your first baby, that's like something you're never going to get back, you know? So that's what I would tell like a new mom, is to really, really enjoy those first few moments, those first few weeks with you and the baby, and really do that skin to skin and that bonding and that pheromone pairing, you know, all of that stuff that's bound to happen, and be at peace with not letting everyone in, because people are going to guilt you and make you feel like you should let them in, you know, like, oh, I just want to see you guys, you know, like it's okay if you don't do it right away.
Yeah, and to like kind of put more into that, because COVID just happened, you know, and it's still out there. luckily I didn't get that much pushback, you know. So people understood that like I waited until 2 months for me to even bring her really out because I wanted to make sure that she got certain shots.
No, like earlier I made the COVID joke about my daughter and I saw your face. I was like, oh no, it's a spider. I'm sorry. Because you were like, okay. I was like, oh shit, I forgot you have a baby. So it's probably not a good joke.
Yeah, I was super paranoid. Not with what she said, but like just
in general. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. But my tip would be like, have patience with yourself. It's a learning process. Have patience. If you're doing it with your significant other, have patience with them because they're going through it too. And to also like just fuck what everybody else says and understand like this is your creation. This is your life with your baby. So trust your instincts.
Yeah, that part, your instincts for sure.
Yeah. But well, thank you ladies for giving me, you know, the tips and sharing your stories. I think for sure, you know, the women out there that are mothers that could definitely take something away from this.
Well, and thank you too, babe, for being vulnerable and sharing your early journey with everyone, because I know there's going to be moms out there that are like, I'm losing it. Is anyone else feeling it? You know, so
true.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Well, again, I do want to thank Jasmine for filling in while I was gone.
Yes, I had fun.
This is like our first episode. Well, not first, but you know, episode of just us three girls again.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, and yeah, so for the listeners, make sure if you're in the San Diego area, make sure you hit up Mikey's Meals if you're looking for a healthy, easy meal prep company. Use our code TheBabes10 for 10% off, of course. And if you're looking for a studio, make sure you hit up the Pixel Lounge SD for any content creation, photography needs. They for sure got you. And yeah, anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day to all you out there.
All the moms, all the ones acting as moms, all the ground moms, everybody.
Literally.
Everybody.
Shout out to you for holding it down.
Yep.
For real.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Be Uplifted, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.